After 8 months away from the tour due to injury, Arthur Fils is fully back. And just 6 tournaments into his return, I find myself asking a question I didn't think I'd be asking this early. Is Arthur Fils just a good player, or is he truly one of the brightest talents ever seen in modern tennis? Fils entered Barcelona as the 9th seed, and he was literally 1 point away from an early exit. Competing on clay for the first time this season, he saved 2 match points in clutch fashion in the opener against Terence Atman before brushing past Nakashima in the next round. Then came the big one against Musetti in the quarterfinals, and it took Fils only 86 minutes to get rid of the 2nd seed for his 2nd top 10 win of the season. The match against Musetti showed some of the key areas Fils has worked on, which we're going to talk about later in the video. Up next was the Yodar test in the semis, which Fils found the answers to after the first set. A gritty 3-set victory to reach the 100 mark for tour-level wins. Battling Rublev for the crown on Sunday, it came down to somewhat predictable patterns. Fils was outlasting Rublev from the baseline, using his heavy ground strokes to take control of the rallies. After going down an early break, he then won 6 consecutive games to close out the first set. But after being up 5-2 in the second, Fils got tight and made things a little bit more difficult for himself, dropping 2 service games and then failing to convert 3 match points before finally closing it out in the tiebreak. From match point down in round 1 to Barcelona champion. I mean, what a turnaround. A 4th ATP title for Fils and his first in 18 months. He's the first Frenchman since 1985 to win the title in Barcelona. Plus, he's already tied with Gaël Monfils as the Frenchman with the most ATP 500 titles in history at 3. Oh, and he's also now the French #1. Now, don't get it twisted. The Barcelona crown isn't a 1000 title or a slam, but understanding Fils' journey and just how quickly he's made up for lost time puts everything in perspective. Roland Garros 2025. Arthur Fils survives a 4-hour, 25-minute, 5-set thriller against Jaume Munar in the 2nd round, and you can see just how much it means to him. It was a win that felt like it kind of signaled the start of something special. Fils was number 14, playing great tennis, and was on an upward trajectory. However, it was later revealed post-match that the Frenchman had suffered a stress fracture in his L5 vertebra and was subsequently forced to withdraw from the tournament. Just like that, his momentum had been halted, and Fils had now become a bit of a forgotten prospect, with others taking his place. The Frenchman tried to return early in Canada, but 2 matches in, and his back still wasn't ready. As a result, he ended the season early and also missed this year's Australian Open. That absence left a huge void, with other young challengers to the Sinkaraz throne like Rune and Draper also dealing with their own physical setbacks. Until now. Arthur Fils is back, and just a few tournaments into his return, he's already found himself inside the top 10 in the ATP live race to Turin. What makes the return notable isn't just how quickly the results have come, but the number of changes Fils had to make to even put himself in a position to succeed. The recovery period forced him into a different daily structure, and what we're seeing now isn't just a player who not only managed to rehab an injury, but also improved a lot of things in his game at the same time. And that is incredibly difficult to do.
We change a lot the technique. We work on a couple of things, the serve, the forehand, even the movement as well on the courts with the fitness coach,
Part of Fils' evolution includes a new perspective to the game. In February, Fils announced that he'd begun working with Goran Ivanisevic. Although Ivanisevic wasn't on site with him during the Sunshine Double, the communication was there, and early returns of the partnership have been encouraging. Fils rethought everything during his time away. He shed a couple of pounds and overhauled his nutrition a lot, going from eating a lot of cookies to healthier options because he had to. His body was simply telling him that the way he used to do things wasn't sustainable, and he listened. Now, he's traveling with a private physio and has been focused on recovery more than anything else. But what really stands out about Fils, and why do I think he might be the real deal after all? This is a chart showing the topspin forehand speed and RPM among ATP players. Down here, we have Adrian Mannarino, who is by far the flattest hitter with not much pace either. I still have no idea how he gets away with it. As we go further up, we have players like Alex de Minaur with a little more speed and spin, but still someone who I'd consider to be a flat hitter. Move a bit more to the center of the pack, and you start to see some of the more familiar names. Further up, and we have some of the best players, Djokovic, Zverev, Felix Auger-Aliassime. We haven't even gotten to Sinner, Alcaraz, and Fonseca, because here they are, north of 84 miles per hour and over 3,000 RPMs on the forehand. But where is Arthur Fils? Oh, he's right here, all right. Daylight between him and the rest of the pack. Arthur Fils had the heaviest forehand on tour. Let that sink in. This guy hits harder and has more spin than Alcaraz and Sinner on the forehand. Fils' forehand quality against Tsitsipas in Miami was the 4th highest ever recorded with a 9.8 rating. An average speed of 85 miles per hour and forehand winners over 105 miles per hour is ridiculous to say the least. In the past, Fils had a high backswing and a takeback that wasn't exactly the prettiest. He was rushable on the forehand and sometimes sprayed a lot of errors. But now, Fils has lowered the backswing and just made the stroke a lot more compact. And the result? A more efficient kinetic chain, and it's yielding results on the court. Arthur Fils, simply put, is just built to hurt you from the baseline. Power, spin, pace, all of it dialed up to 11. Against Rublev in the Barcelona final, the forehand was the star of the show, and you can just see the difference in quality between the two players. 20 forehand winners to Rublev's 8, and total control from the baseline, winning 13 more points than Andre, and almost all of the points in rallies lasting more than 9 shots. But what about the backhand? Because it was also firing at times. The two-handed backhand from Fils, equally dangerous. This is the 2026 leaderboard in backhand shot quality from players who have played a minimum of 5 ATP matches so far this year. And here we have Arthur Fils, who sits comfortably inside the top 10. The shot is also among the heaviest backhands, and we've seen him hurt opponents a lot off that wing. The latest example being some crucial points in the tiebreak against Tommy Paul in Miami. Down multiple match points, it was Fils' two-handed backhand that stood out early on. First, a ferocious backhand cross-court on the rise to save the first of 4 match points. Next, it was a defensive backhand on the sliding open stance, full stretch from Fils to make it 6-4 in that tiebreak. Against Musetti in the quarterfinals in Barcelona, same thing. Once again, the cross-court backhand held firm in that crucial break of serve in the second set. Both players traded a total of 15 backhand cross-courts until Musetti blinked first. So now we've got a player with incredible power off of both wings. When you add his ability to suddenly inject pace off both wings to his athleticism and explosive movement, you get an ideal player archetype capable of outclassing opponents both on offense and defense. At first glance, Fils' biggest challenge is making inroads on the return. He's won 36.2% of return points over the last 52 weeks, a number just below the usual minimum for an elite player. However, when you think of the fact that players like Shelton, Fritz, FAA, Bublik, and a couple of other guys have been top 10 without return stats nearly as good as Arthur, it becomes clear that the return of serve isn't an obstacle to a top 10 breakthrough. Remember, this guy was well on his way to breaking the top 10 before that injury. It only seemed like a matter of time. Since his return to the tour, Fils' return of serve has been well above tour average. The anticipation, split step, all the fundamentals, they're really pretty solid. While he's no Sinner or Alcaraz on the return, Arthur gets enough returns back in play compared to the tour average, despite taking large cuts at the ball at pretty much every opportunity he gets. Against Rublev in the Barcelona final, he had a 7.9 return quality compared to Rublev at 6.0. Again, that's nothing to sneeze at. But the serve, however, is still a work in progress, and Fils and his team were well aware of that, which is part of the reason why they brought Goran to the team. A 72% win percentage behind the first serve puts the Frenchman in the bottom 10 in the top 50, which is quite interesting because back in 2024, it was the second serve inconsistency holding him back. Fils can touch 130 miles per hour on his first serve. Plus, he has a really heavy kicker and averages close to 94 miles per hour on the second serve. So raw speed isn't the problem, placement is. With the help of Goran Ivanisevic, Fils is modifying the motion, focusing on better consistency and precision while minimizing the stress on his back. And it's working. In Miami, the percentage of his first serve points won across all matches was in the mid-80s. And then there's the variety. Fils' power and style of play takes time away from opponents, and while the most obvious thing about his game is that power, what makes him really more than just a ball striker is that variety sitting underneath. He's comfortable at the net, capable of finesse when the situation calls for it. Now, one area where Fils can probably improve in his game is maybe playing a little bit less flashy, taking some pace off the ball, and being a bit more selective when and where he goes for his spots. Following the back injury, Fils is now moving smarter on the court. He's a little more intentional when exploding out of the corners. And guys, I know it's easy to forget sometimes, but he's still just 21 years old. Arthur Fils definitely hasn't reached his physical peak just yet, but it shows up in his recovery. While physically comfortable during tough matches, Fils has acknowledged a drop in intensity and energy in subsequent matches, and he attributes it to mental fatigue. Look, Fils is a high-energy player and is capable of producing moments of magic. He has a fiery temperament on the court, and every match is a dogfight for him. Fils is electric, relentless, but can he sustain such energy levels for long? Having an extremely physical style of play means that the French number one is always at risk of running out of gas deep into a tournament. Arthur's temperament is an asset, but it could also hold him back occasionally. He plays with visible emotion. When he's locked in, he pumps his fist, beats his chest, feeds off the crowd, but when he's struggling, he complains to his box, he questions himself out loud, and could look really deflated, like we saw in the Lehečka match. Unlike some fans, I don't see Fils as cocky or arrogant. He's just confident and one of the more expressive players on tour, and I'm having a hard time wondering why that should be a problem for anyone. Like Goran, I see top 5 potential in Fils. In fact, he probably has the most immediate top 5 potential out of any young player on the tour right now. There are no real glaring weaknesses in his game, which might put a bit of a cap on his ceiling, but for me, it's only really a question of when and how everything comes together at this point. It's still early days into Fils' comeback, but so far, we've already seen him grind out some impressive wins. An 18-5 win-loss record with big wins over Lehečka and Mensik in Doha, where he snapped the Czechs' 10-match winning streak and reached an ATP final for the first time since Tokyo 2024, before, of course, getting stopped by Alcaraz. A top 10 win over Felix Auger-Aliassime at Indian Wells. A Tsitsipas thrashing followed by 2 epic 3-setters against Vachereau and Tommy Paul, where he even saved 4 match points and won 6 points in a row to become the youngest French ATP Masters 1000 semifinalist since a 21-year-old Richard Gasquet did it in 2007. Another 2 match points saved against Atman en route to the title in Barcelona. These results already put him in the top 10 on the ELO leaderboard. For a player barely inside the top 30, that's insane. And one of the more exciting things about Fils is that he's comfortable on the different surfaces. Plus, he's also really young. The task ahead is straightforward in principle for Arthur Fils. Build on these results, keep improving, and most importantly, stay healthy on the court. For a player whose young career has already been interrupted by injuries, simply staying on the court is a huge success in its own right. That way, he gets to test himself more often against elite competition like Sinner and Alcaraz. And with less than 300 points to defend for the rest of the season, I see Arthur making a big push for a top 10 year-end finish. As long as he stays healthy, I believe he can go toe-to-toe with the very best. So far, Fils has already surpassed expectations, and it's clear to me that he's so determined to make up for lost time. Arthur Fils is fully back, and everyone should be scared because we are about to be reminded of just how good he can be. The top of men's tennis is loaded with young talents right now. Mensik, Lerner Tien, Joao Fonseca, Rafa Yodar. The next wave is totally coming if they're not here already. And based on everything we've seen since Fils burst onto the scene in 2023 with a breakthrough title in Lyon, he might just be the real deal. After watching Fils in Barcelona this week, I'm not only impressed with his ability to hit through the court on both the forehand and the backhand on one of the sport's slowest surfaces, but really his mentality. In the final against Rublev, he was up 5-2 in the second set, served for it at 5-3, somehow got broken and ended up in a tiebreak, and yet stayed calm and closed it out 7-2. That's maturity on court that goes well beyond his years. Fils is definitely one of the guys I'm going to be keeping an eye on going through the rest of this clay season, but who else is on your radar? Be sure to let me know in the comments. As always guys, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you don't miss a thing here on Courtside Tennis, and until next time, keep going for the lines.